This is my 2008 Audi Q7. Now, when I was buying this, it was like completely on like a 50-50 decision where I either wanted to have V8 noises or I wanted to get a diesel and do like rolling coal things or whatever. One of the things for me was I wanted to have like the absolutely most extra vehicle with all of the luxuries that I'm never going to use in my life. For whatever reason, in North America, we can't get a diesel with all of those options, or at least I could not find one anywhere. One option was getting the air ride suspension. So this originally had it, and in the video that you're watching right now, like the footage that's going to be coming up, like that footage, that's going to be me diagnosing all of the issues with the air ride, because this thing just completely decided one day that, hey, I don't want to have the air in me anymore, and it just slammed to the ground while I was driving with these tires on. It completely slammed down and just absolutely destroyed the fender. And like if we come to this side, it's like harder to see just because it's like a little bit less damage or whatever, but like it completely ripped the bumper out. There's like a huge dent right here and everything. And like, yeah. So the air ride in these things, really not a good choice. Especially when you couldn't go any lower than like the maximum ride height setting, which right now, in its current state, is actually sitting at like lift mode. So if you have the air ride in one of these Q7s and you have it set to lift mode, which limits the speed, so like you can't actually drive like that, or it'll go back down to like the off-road setting or whatever. This suspension here with the lift kit that I've added has given me this height. But you can obviously see that the back is not done at all because I didn't finish this vehicle. It was like the middle of winter and I just wanted to get it done so I could get to work. I finished the front. I didn't even look at the back because it wasn't rubbing anyway. So I just drove it looking like a total dickhead for most of the winter. And then, all the oil decided that it no longer wanted to be in it. And that was on Christmas Eve, a year ago. So as of right now, we're kind of going towards the end of May, but when this video comes out, I have no idea, like June or July or something. But this basically means, this has been sitting for pretty much a year and a half since the last time that I drove it, just because it started puking oil, and I was like, you know what, I'm not dealing with this right now. Like, it was pretty much the end of December. It's cold, there's no heat in here, and I just didn't care that much, so I just started driving some of my other vehicles, because this thing is stupid expensive. So, I guess we can illustrate, like, how I got it. Like, what did it look like when I got this thing? So, I'll just throw some pictures up on the screen so you can see it absolutely stock when it arrived. I don't have any pictures of it, but the door handles were just, like, hanging off of the vehicle. Like, it looked like someone completely ripped it off. They're all destroyed around the door handles now. Like, every single one of them is like that. And that's how I got it. Well, I mean, like, that happened over, like, the last year because moisture got in there and it, like, bubbled all the paint out, so I'm gonna have to fix all that now. And the delivery driver claimed that someone was trying to steal it, like, off of his transport, like, on the top, at the front of his truck. Like, literally the hardest place to get, apparently someone was trying to steal it. So, I don't know. Sure, maybe. I have no idea. But that was how I got it. For some reason, the back bumper was like repainted matte black. I don't know why. Like, it looked absolutely disgusting. So I repainted this. I'll throw some pictures up of that. But for some brief history on the vehicle, this is a drug seizure vehicle. So this vehicle was seized by the FBI. The entire thing was dismantled. And then it was sent off to like a local police auction in New York. And from there, it was purchased, rebuilt, like, back to its current condition, and then imported to Canada, where it now sits in my garage, taking up way too much space, and it dumped oil all over the ground just trying to get it in here. So, like, I don't know. I gotta figure out where that oil leak is coming from. But in the sense of these videos, because the footage was recorded, like, over 2 years ago. So let's get into that 2-year-old footage, and I don't know, maybe you'll decide that, if you want one of these things, don't get the air ride because it's garbage. Like, I don't know. You'll see for yourself. It's not that entertaining, but whatever. So open OBD11, turn the ignition on. We're going to connect. I'm going to go to ride control system, which is module 34 in VCDS. Security access 13564. Okay. That's new. Function canceled. Marginal conditions have not been met. Normally I don't get that error yet, so I'm not sure why that was first go when already it didn't work. Let's close that. Turn this off. Open the door. Close the door. Turn the ignition back on. Open OBD11 again. Connect. Okay. Go to the control units. Module 34. Security access 13564. Function cancelled. Marginal conditions have not been met. Okay. I have no idea what's going on now. So normally if you touch anything suspension related at all, actually I'm just going to leave this off and then maybe it'll reset something. So normally if you touch anything suspension related, you have to recalibrate the suspension. And I can't even show you in here because we're too tight, but I've changed the upper control arms, the inner and outer tie rods, I don't know, some other stuff. As you can see, we kind of have a problem. I can't even get my hand in here. Like, it's sitting on the tire right now. So the check valves on the top of the air strut, the line goes in there and there was some corrosion around them, so I figured maybe there was corrosion in the check valve itself, not allowing air to go in. So I took the lines off, I sprayed penetrating fluid in there. This fitting, a little rubber thing, so that way it gets like a good seal in that check valve and just blowing shop air in there. Now when I did that, the bags filled, and as soon as I turned the vehicle on, it expelled the air because it recognized that there was more air in there than it when it turned on than there was when it turned off. It's getting rid of the excess air so that way it can calibrate back to where it was before, which is fine, which is normal. Now I went through pretty much everything. I've checked the pump, it's working. The tank is working, it's holding air. All the lines, there's nothing leaking, none of the fittings are leaking. Under here, it's kind of hard to see, but under here is the pump and the valve block. It's not sending air to the front. Like the back is up. I can fit my hand in here. Well, it's not up right now. This is a dynamic mode. That's its default when it's trying to calibrate. I'm trying to calibrate. That's what I'm trying to do right now. And the back is getting air. The front is not. The front's staying on the ground. All the lines are fine. Check valves are fine. Air struts themselves are not leaking because I can fill it up with the shop air. It'll hold itself up just for diagnosis sake. I actually left it like that for the entire night, came back out. It was still at the exact height that I had it at before. But they're not leaking. The air struts are not leaking. The lines are fine. Check valves are working. Take the line off of the valve block, blow compressed air into there, and that will go all the way to the air strut in the front and raise them. So the lines are fine, check valves are fine, everything's good. So something is happening between the pump and the valve block. It's only sending air to the rear, not the front. So I took the valve block, took all the lines out, penetrating fluid in there, sprayed compressed air in there to free it all up, put everything back together. I turned the vehicle on for the first time. It's still stuck in automatic mode because it hasn't been calibrated, which is totally normal. It's stuck on automatic for the calibration, so that way it can calibrate automatically. To do that, we have to open OBD11, turn the vehicle on. You can have it running or on, it doesn't matter. So now we can connect. You can see that it is in automatic, which is totally normal. And it's on the second cube, which is dynamic mode. So that's what the rear is set to right now, and the front's not going up. Now to kind of track back a little bit there, the first time I tried running this, it worked, it calibrated, it saved, everything is fine. The front end lifted to the dynamic mode and the rear lifted to the comfort mode. However, when I scanned for codes, cleared the codes, turned the vehicle off, back on to restart the MMI and get the air suspension calibrated again so it's ready to go, because that's the final step in the calibration, it was still on automatic and nothing was working. So I tried to calibrate it again and I get that error, let's see, okay, now it works for some reason. The adaptation, module 10, we're gonna go to channel 1 on here, which is gonna be the pump should turn on. There it is. So now we just have to wait while this drains to dynamic, which it already sees it as, and it's going to lift back to comfort mode, so that way it can get a reading, and the comfort mode is your baseline. So from the comfort mode, the front, from the center of the wheel to the fender arch, should be 449 millimeters, and then the rear, which is channel 3 and 4, but I'm not going to switch them because it's doing things, that's 465, 465 millimeters. Now the reading that I was getting was 445 on the front, and the rear was 455. So I entered 455 on channel 1 and 2, because that was both front, and then 455 on channels 3 and 4, which were the two rear, and then I went to channel 5, changed the value to 1 to save, did that, everything is fine, nothing worked, and since then it has just been continuous issues of it not working, and every time I try to calibrate, it keeps going down further and it won't raise back up. So now the front's at the bottom and it won't go up, and the rear is in dynamic mode instead of comfort and it won't go back up, and I wasn't having issues with the rear before, so I'm just gonna kind of wait this out, and then we'll get a little red flag at the bottom here that says 22 function canceled, marginal conditions have not been met. There it is. So that doesn't work. Now I can't even repeat this now. Like if I try and go back to the security access, enter 31564, which I just did and everything is fine, it doesn't work. It won't even let me go back in. Adaptation, go back to channel 1, it asks for the security code, which is the same thing. Do it again, doesn't work. I don't know. Every time I scan for codes, I just get the one saying, these are completely random. Control switched off. These will come up or not, so not guaranteed codes, because I can clear these and they won't come up next time, and then they will come up next time, or I'll get other ones that weren't here before, like leak detected in system, but I know there's not because everything's working. Well, everything's working when I manually control it. Function deactivated, valve switch on duration. This one here is the code that I always get, which is control position not adapted, because that means that it needs to be calibrated, which is what I'm trying to do, and it's not working. So now I need to close OBD11, done. I have to turn the ignition off, I have to open the door, turn off the MMI, close the door, turn it back on, open OBD11. Now we can go to control units, ride control system, module 34, security access. When we're back in, we can go to the adaptation, channel 1. Now I actually just heard for a second there, probably won't be able to get picked up because it was super quiet, but it actually just released some of the air from the front. No, the front definitely isn't going up. I'm not really sure what to do from this point. I've checked pretty well everything, and everything is functioning. I've talked to technicians and they've told me that it needs to be calibrated, which is not working. I've posted on Fortitude and the OBD11 forum about this error. No one has responded. So I'm now looking into getting the coil spring suspension from like the Touareg or the lower model Q7s. Here we go, it didn't work again. Awesome. So that's pretty much this. I'm just gonna do an air ride delete. I've been working on this for probably about a week, almost every single day. But for the time being, this thing's stuck in the garage. I can't even drive it because it's literally sitting on the tire, so it's literally stuck. Then I started looking into the coil spring conversion to actually get rid of the air ride altogether, and there's I think it was called an EBC or ECB module or something that you need. I'm not entirely sure what that is, because these had the option of having coil springs from factory if it wasn't the higher end models. And I don't think there was a aftermarket sensor from the factory on those models. So I'm kind of hoping that I can just buy the suspension and the pieces that go along with that, possibly a lift kit, and just kind of throw it in and then have the appropriate ride height that I need to actually get around. I've been rambling enough. I have no idea what to do with this thing. I'm completely out of ideas. I hate this vehicle. I've considered lighting it on fire more times than I'd like to joke about. That's my wonderful Q7 that I've only driven for a few weeks before the air suspension decided to die. So glad I'm making payments on a vehicle that gets to sit in the garage while I find a ride to work. All right, well, hopefully, I don't know, you got something out of that. If you have one with air ride or whatever, then like diagnosing the issues and stuff, it is just an absolute nightmare. Like you need an absurd amount of patience to actually track down every single airline and everything. Like you really have to know what you're doing with Vagcom to actually like figure it all out, or in like the sense that I was using was OBD11, which I mean like it still has long coding anyway, so it's like the same thing, but it's just, it has coil spring suspension now and a lift kit, and there is a very good reason for that. So I'll get into that in the next video. I don't know, hopefully you found something useful here. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, or don't do any of it. I'm not telling you what to do.